I'm walking down the hill from Lincoln Cathedral with George Revel, who's Senior Lecturer in Cultural Geography at the Open University. And we're going to be catching up with George at various stations on this journey from Lincoln to Birmingham. Look, George, this is kind of a strange feature in the landscape here, the hill that Lincoln Cathedral sits on top of. I mean, what effect, psychologically, symbolically, do you think that this hill has for the people who live around it and who, for miles and miles around, it's the main feature of the landscape?
I think that Lincoln Cathedral, set on the hill, dominates the East Midlands in a very symbolic way, and that it's something which is visible over a very wide area into Nottinghamshire, right down into Leicestershire, and it's a focus, a cultural focus for the entire East Midlands in many respects.
We're going down the hill to a pub to hear a group of singers who, well, sing most of the time in the cathedral, but who also sing in a pub. So a kind of change of situation, George.
Yes. I suppose in one sense it's something which echoes the topography of Lincoln itself, with the cathedral up on the hill through to the terraced houses of industrial Lincoln and its history of agricultural machine making. Lincoln has a kind of double side to it. It's both this wonderful historic cathedral town and a workaday industrial town at the same time.
But one shouldn't confuse this journey that I've just made between the supposed high art of the cathedral and the low art of the pub, or perhaps just the reverse, who knows, the Dog and Bone on John Street. Here we go. I've come inside the Dog and Bone now, a really good pint of Lincolnshire bitter in my hand, and I'm with Keith Halliday, John Stork and Eric Prentice, who not only is Director of Music at Lincoln Cathedral, he also sings with the Lynx Effect. Look, Keith, what have we just been hearing?
The last piece was Of Gold or Burnished, which is from the Songs of Sundries by William Byrd, who of course was organist at the cathedral here until 1572, I think, is that right?
That's right, yeah, 1563 to 1572.
Are you different musicians in this setting?
I think the really good thing is that we can do different things than we do at the cathedral. You know, one thing we do try and do is a lot of folk songs. If you go to Europe, you go to Spain, France, Italy, all those sort of places, you know, you go to a bar or you go to restaurants, you have families joining in with all these traditional folk songs, wonderful songs. Unfortunately, that's something that we seem to be losing here. And I think it's very important that we try and mix that with the other stuff that we do as well.
Do you get people joining in? I mean, is it something that becomes collaborative for the whole pub, for the whole venue you're performing at?
We do with some of the things we do. Obviously, with things like the poacher, people will join in. Some of the Christmas things we do.
I think it depends how much they've had, to be honest, doesn't it?
We're talking about, you're looking a bit low here, guys. It's probably time that you got another pint and did some more singing.
No, absolutely.
If you're around,
Thank
Keith.
you. The Beach Boys, I get around.
I could have 1 pint of GHA and 2 pints of XP.
Certainly.
So how often do these guys come in? Did you like what they're doing, the Lynx Effect? Do you approve?
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. Made us smile and made us cry in the same quarter, actually.
They made you cry?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so moving, some of the stuff that they do.
What made you cry?
Well, she will. The Billy Joel piece is always one that's a tearjerker. It's a rare talent for one set to make people laugh with hilarity and cry in the same breath, and it's quite a talent, and we're very lucky to have them coming down here for us.
I get around, yeah! When I was bound apprentice in famous Lincolnshire, 'twas well I served my master for nigh on 7 years, till I took up to poaching, as you shall quickly hear. Oh, it is my delight and a shining night in the season of the year. Oh, it is my
The Lynx Effect singing the Lincolnshire Poacher in the Dog and Bone. George Revel, you were listening to that. What does it mean, do you think, to hear a folk song which is supposedly of this area, you know, the Lincolnshire Poacher in Lincoln, in this setting today? What's going on here?
Well, in many respects, it reminds me of the early 20th century revival in English music, which was often cathedral-based. So in that sense, what they're doing seems to be entirely appropriate and what one might expect
Is it also, would you say, folk music in terms of how it works? This music of these people in this time and place. I mean, forget folk music and the idea of, sandals and Shetland fiddlers or whatever, but the idea of folk music is something which belongs to a group of people and they're doing it now and it's making meanings now.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly my idea of folk music. It isn't the definition as developed by Cecil Sharp and his contemporaries in the early 20th century, but it's certainly how I see folk music, and it's increasingly how ethnomusicologists and other scholars tend to see folk music. It doesn't matter whether this material is 400 years old or 4 years old. It's about how it comes together within a particular social and cultural setting to animate and entertain.
Look, we're spending a week making this sort of roundabout journey from Lincoln to Birmingham, not quite as the crow flies. What do you think, George, as a cultural geographer, that we can expect to find music doing on that journey, or rather people doing with music, as we make our way over westwards over to Birmingham?
I think this is a very eclectic region. It's a very widespread region. I suppose it is a very diverse region, and it does include the affluent shires, and it includes old industrial areas, and it includes towns and cities which are multicultural. So I think the thing we can say, above all, is that there is a wide diversity of cultural musical practices. You could think of it as a microcosm in some respects of what one might find through the country.
Maria Virgine gaudete, 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 Christus es natus, ex Maria Virgine.